Music Lens podcast with me, Alex Allegra.
And Katie V.
Okay, so we have a lot to talk about because
Yes.
we've gone back and forth so much. I realize we probably shouldn't make bold statements about how we're going to run this podcast until we actually find a groove with it, because I really said, Katie, I have so much to tell you. I need to podcast this weekend, last weekend, and then I got sick, and so it was the universe telling me, no, you need to stick with the schedule and not overbook yourself, as I tend to do. So we're trying some new things out today. We're trying out a different everything.
A different everything. This is definitely a learning process.
Yeah.
So figuring out things as we go, like to make sure that you're actually getting video and that you don't run out of space 7 seconds into recording an episode.
I also realize we say so much in editing that I'm really going to work on that because I don't like it. It bothers me. So let's talk about things. So first we have to talk about is the Super Bowl, which the real reason I wanted to record last week was because I wanted to talk about the Super Bowl performance because I had to. Mm-hmm. And did you see it?
Yeah, I don't have a way to watch like live, but there was a TikTok live stream that lasted the whole time without getting shut down. So I was like, okay, we're watching the Super Bowl on TikTok. It's fine. I'm sorry.
Katie wants to hold my feet. If you want.
No.
Did you want some of the blanket?
No, that's fine.
Okay. So you did watch it.
Yes.
And I was so afraid that all the things that I had about the Super Bowl were going to be so irrelevant 2-3 weeks later that I was like, we need to record. Yeah. We didn't end up,
it's
obviously, because that's okay, because life is life.
Yes.
And it's so busy right now. Mm-hmm. And we want to get you guys quality content. So we have an actual schedule of the day, for once, of what this podcast will be about. But first, let me I wrote a list of Super Bowl thoughts. I wrote down every commercials that I was so excited about because I really needed to talk about it. So let's start. The Wicked movie commercial. Have you seen it? I didn't
pay attention to the commercials as much. I was also cooking while I was doing it, so it was like multitasking. There you go. So. Okay.
Well, I went to a party and I was so excited when I saw this. I know everyone's really criticizing how drab it looks, but Wicked is my favorite musical, and I am so excited. Like, it brought so much joy to my heart to see the commercial for it. I honestly am very excited about it still. I'm not upset about it at all. I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. I'm so excited. I've
never seen Wicked, but obviously heard all the good things about it.
It was my 16th birthday present to go to Broadway and see it. My mom's a great mom. Deadpool 3. I was so excited about Deadpool 3 because
that checks out.
One thing about me is how I got my boyfriend wrapped around my finger was I recited the entire Deadpool 1 movie on our first date.
Yeah.
Anywho.
There you go.
I wrote down that Taylor was there, Ice Spice, Blake Lively, Lana Del Rey. Also, if you did not watch the SpongeBob version of the Super Bowl,
I kept seeing TikToks of it, and they're like, this is better than the original.
Incredible. Dora was the sassiest little girl at the bottom. She'd come up and be like, that means they gotta go back. And we were like, oh, Dora. Okay. Sassy Dora. He looked like the SpongeBob popsicle. Like, the animation for new SpongeBob is honestly a little terrifying, and those voices...
Looks like the ice cream truck.
Was interesting. Popsicle? He looked like the popsicle.
Oh,
yes. And I know it's been said because I saw a TikTok about it, but that was the first thing I said, and everyone was like, all night long was like, he looks like
he
popsicle.
Does.
I said, I know. That's what I said. Mm-hmm. It was very funny. Patrick's voice, though, was something else. He would make these laughs. They really took off with the Patrick is stupid a little too far.
Oh, no.
It was something. And they had little designs throughout the whole thing. They had a filter on the whole football game that made it look like they were underwater because they were screening from Bikini Bottom.
Yeah.
It was so funny. It was the funniest way to watch a football game, honestly. And I will say it was nice that they actually explained things. Like, they broke it down for kids that just wanted to learn. It was actually very entertaining. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a garbage truck. Sorry.
Sounds like it, yeah. But it probably won't get picked up.
Yeah, no.
We can hear it.
I was like, hello, God, it's me, Margaret. Then Usher came out, and I was already so excited because honestly, y'all are sleeping on new Usher music. Mm-hmm. There is about 3 songs he has out right now that I have wanted a hip hop class to do so badly. And I was like, am I missing a memo? Is Usher not really like, did I forget to like look up something? Did he do something wrong? Why are we not talking about new Usher? I think he's just out of the loop. But new Usher is actually so good. And you know how you didn't know who Summer Walker is? I realized I knew her because he sings a song with her called Good Good. Such a good song. Such a good song. New Usher is where it's at, honestly. Besides that album cover, because the album cover is stupid. But I love the song so much. And when Alicia Keys came out on stage, chills up and down my body. I was so
I love that.
Stunned.
Her outfit.
And she was, eating it up. Eating it up.
Yes. Yeah.
I loved it. I was, the roller skating, her on guitar. He really, like, made it, like, women, get your butts out here and do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. So good.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. It wasn't my favorite halftime performance, but I do think overall it was a good one.
No, it was so good.
It wasn't bad. It was good. It just wasn't like, oh, this is like the best one of all time.
I disagree. I think it was one of the best ones I've seen in a long time.
Okay.
That's just me, though. I thought it was better than Rihanna's, honestly.
Okay. I don't remember last year all that well, but I know Rihanna was good. I loved watching the reaction videos after the fact of when Ludacris comes out. And all the millennial funny. Women are like, oh my gosh, it's Luda.
Yeah. Everyone in my group was like, he changed his hair. He had the big afro, and it was so cool. I loved it.
Yeah. I like the roller skating, though. So.
Chef's kiss of a performance. I honestly think it was one of my favorite performances in a while. And I always thought everyone was giving him a lot of crap, I think, just because it wasn't Taylor Swift, like, because that's just what everybody wanted. But I was also like, he wasn't gonna give a bad performance. Yeah. Like, anyone that has gone to see Usher in the last like 10 years knows, like, it wasn't ever gonna be a bad performance. It only had the chance to be really good, and I think he delivered. So.
Yeah, I feel like he could have sang more, because there's parts where it's like, okay, now the backing track's just going because he's too focused taking his shirt off to sing. Oh,
that was funny. Everyone, when you texted me that everyone downtown was going crazy, that was the funniest thing. We all went crazy too. We were like, okay, Usher. Yes. Oh, he's really taking off the shirt. It was so funny how everyone reacted.
My coworker was in a bar and was like, everyone in the bar is screaming when he took his shirt off. I'm like, okay. It was a moment. All right. Sure.
'Twas a moment. Anything else?
Super Bowl wise,
I said it was a lit party with all the OGs for his final number. That's my text message to myself.
Everyone wanted Justin Bieber to come out. He was there, but then they're like, he needs to come out. And
I didn't think that was right. Here, my thought about that.
I'm fine with him, but
everyone was like, he helped Justin out so much, but to me, that reads more as if Justin Bieber were to do the halftime, he should bring out Usher to give homage, not that homage? Usher should. Is that not the right word?
Is it homage or
homage? He should give reference to the fact that
I gotta look it up.
That Usher taught him a lot. That was where I thought he would come into play, but I was fine that he wasn't there, honestly. Homage.
I was wrong.
Well, that sounds like Amish.
It sounds like Amish.
Anywho. And then the whole stage was bouncing at the end. It was going up and down. I was very scared. It just reminded me of when we saw Panic at the Disco at the Cannery Ballroom.
Oh.
You were there?
I was, but I don't remember what you're talking about. I could see
the floor underneath me. The floorboards were going in and out. I was very scared.
Okay.
Anywho. And then SpongeBob had the quote of the century towards the end of the game. He said, Patrick broke out like Mrs. Puff broke out of jail. Talking about Patrick Mahomes. He said, Patrick broke out like Mrs. Puff broke out of jail. And I was like, no one heard that? That was fantastic. That was all my notes on the Super Bowl. Now I can delete that.
Now you can delete that. Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
I don't know. It was fun. I was like back and forth reading and watching, since it's like I'm reading on my phone, so then I have it like in the corner as I'm reading. So
gotcha.
Not during the halftime, but like during the rest of the game. I'm like, I'm gonna read while
honestly, it was a pretty good game. I thoroughly enjoyed the game too.
I'm glad that it was close, because it would have been boring if one team just like got way far ahead and then it was just like, okay, now what?
I mean, Super Bowl games are normally pretty slow just because they stay low scoring the whole time because it's the best teams.
But it's better to be a close game than.
But it was very, very
one
fun
team
at
to
the
get
end.
Or to lose, like way far lost.
That's fair. Then Beyonce released country music.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that in the commercial and no one said anything. So I was like, was that supposed to be a hint at something? Did she not just do anything? And then about an hour later, people were really talking a little bit about it. But it wasn't really, it took a slow little while for it to actually build up, I feel like. It's okay. I'm playing footsies.
Okay, that's hurting me.
Sorry.
You like bent my foot backwards.
It took a little bit of while, I feel like, for the momentum. But honestly, really strong songs. I was not a fan of Renaissance 1. I want Renaissance 2 on my record player. Like, I'm very excited about it. Those were good songs. I think it really, we were talking about this yesterday, about where country music kind of is and how a lot of the artists just aren't relevant. And I think Beyonce and like some of these other Black artists that are going to cross over, or pop artists that are going to cross over, is going to bring a new relevance to country music in a way that is going to stand, I think, the test of time and hopefully really make the genre not so close-minded to a lot of things. And I'm very excited to see where that goes. And it's Black History Month. We're in February, and we wanted to touch on that a little bit as well, but I didn't know how to go about it, as we are two white women in music. I didn't want to so if you guys want to learn more about the statistics, Julie Williams on Instagram has posted a lot of really good content about how this is affecting the Black community in country music. There are so many great Black country artists out there that need recognition, Julie Williams being one of them. She's a song suffragette. That's where I've seen her a whole bunch, and she's a big advocate, obviously, for representing and taking a stand, and I've loved what she said. I could look up some of the statistics.
I couldn't find the post that I was trying to find last night, but that just like jogged my memory too, of like, I want to say the post was talking about how it's like getting country back to its roots, because while it is predominantly white artists, it's based off of Black music.
Yes, and that's
same
why
with like
I
rock and roll, like how this is like the Elvis movie. Noted, like, okay, he got his style from them, and it's like kind of stealing it and whitewashing it.
It is, and that's why
getting back to the roots is important.
Yes, so that's why I wanted to make a whole episode about it. Okay. We'll link a couple Black creators in country music to go check out and dive more into it. I know a whole bunch of them were talking about
stats or things people have posted that are helpful.
Yes.
To educate.
Moving forward, let's get to today's actual topic. Unless you have anything else. Do you have anything else? How's your week been?
It's been good. Yeah. Busy. Just working a lot.
Yeah. We had a co-write last night. Wait, hold on. Technical.
We love that.
Difficulties. But it's okay.
Yeah.
So, we had a co-write last night. It was very fun.
Yeah.
I really want to do co-write stories. And maybe, I'm sure there's articles out there, like a couple of the like stories that I would love people to start sending in now so we can start collecting. Like
co-writing stories.
Co-writing horror.
Like horror stories.
Or just like funny things that have happened in co-writes. Like stories behind some songs. I have plenty of books on that kind of thing. So maybe if I go through them and like choose a couple and we can talk about them.
Yeah.
And...
Or
like
literally any type of horror stories or like funny
really
stories,
weird road stories, or weird rider stories.
Yeah,
I want to do a whole episode on riders and why people put in the weird stuff that they do. And so I want people to, like, if you worked at a venue or something and you can tell us what
and
celebrities you can make them anonymous celebrities,
anonymous stuff.
But I just want to know if you have any fun stories like that.
So that would be fun. So send stuff in that way we can do episodes that have some listener content to kind of expand our stories.
But last night's co-write was about 2 hours of us losing our minds because all of us were
you guys didn't leave till like 11 and you got there like 7:30.
I was not expecting that. I was like, I'm gonna leave by 9. I'm exhausted. We spent 4 hours there.
Yeah, like not even really trying too hard to write. We're like, we're gonna write a fun kind of stupid song, and we never really finished anything. But we just kind of were brainstorming random stuff. Just
we might have had some substances in our
shoot ideas out there
by the end.
So yeah, I don't know. It was fun. I think it's still a good creative thing to do, of just like throw ideas out there. Honestly, even if they're completely crazy, because they're supposed to do that.
It was like,
even if you think it's a stupid idea, throw it out there.
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess a tip for co-writing is like, even if you think it's stupid, just throw the idea out there, even if you know it's not gonna actually work for the song, because it could trigger someone else to have a thought off of that to get something that's actually gonna be something you want in the song.
I really just wanted to write a stupid like, I just wanted to be creative in like the most basic creative way, just throw things at a wall. And I've been really good about writing every week a song a week, and then the new year rolled around and I gave myself a little bit of a break, and so now I realize February is almost over, and I haven't been keeping the schedule that I was because of a lot of things that have just come up in my life and mental health stuff, and I needed to take a break for myself. But I was at a place where I was comfortable doing that, and I knew I could pick it back up. So even though I really didn't want to go to the right last night just because I was tired and wanted a break, I was so happy that I went. And sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you really just need to push yourself to at least go to the right.
Yeah.
And we just all happened to be in a good vibe of a mood to let that be what the right was going to be, and just throw things at the wall and say, we might not write a good song today, but we're going to write something and we're going to be happy about it. And sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah. It was fun.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
I've never laughed as hard as I did. For 4 hours straight, I was just a mess of laughing and crying.
That was a struggle because I had my glasses on, so I'm like, how do you wipe your tears from crying when there's glasses blocking your eyes? But yeah, it was a good time.
So fun. So hopefully I'm not too hoarse today in this podcast recording.
From talking so much last night. Yeah.
And I have my nose has just been a whole work, and I'm working with an allergist to get it better, but I'm not sick. So into our actual topic of the day.
Yes.
Katie
so
I'm
in charge. Okay. I did research on the whole UMG Universal Music Group versus TikTok thing that kind of started at the end of January and is still ongoing. And I'm gonna put in our like show notes all the like, I think that was just
I got an email. It's like,
okay. There's been a lot of noises where it's like, did something turn off? So just making sure. But yeah, I'll link all my sources in the little description show notes thing too. So just to cite sources, avoid plagiarism or whatever the thing is that we learned with English classes of papers. Yes. So if y'all haven't heard, so basically UMG and TikTok were trying to figure out a new licensing words struggle. I'm just gonna read my notes, that's probably easier. I'm like all over the place. So Universal Music Group is gradually removing their catalog from TikTok following the collapse of the two parties' licensing talks, and therefore the expiration of their deal on January 31st. And so they weren't able to agree on terms, and so they let the license expire, which means that they have to take off all of their recordings from TikTok. So that's been interesting because Universal is like, is it the biggest label? I don't know if it is, but it's one of like the big three.
I mean, it's one of the big three is all I know, but it wouldn't surprise me just with how much people complained about and like couldn't use a lot of the sounds.
Yeah, because Taylor Swift's on their label, so like all the Swifties who use her songs on their content, everything is like muted, and then
it took a while for that to happen with my stuff though.
Yeah, but there's so many artists on Universal, like I know more country than the other ones. Like for country, it's like Carrie Underwood and Eric Church and Sam Hunt, Luke Bryan, Keith Urban. Literally, like, a
of
bunch of the major people. Yeah.
Stuff off because a lot of the hip-hop dancers I watch were, like, dancing to Wii music, essentially, so...
Yeah. So this article is from Music Business Worldwide, and they said that they've heard UMG's recordings are now fully unlicensed on TikTok, and their sources indicate publishing catalog has a 30-day cooling off period. So those are gonna probably be off by the end of February. So end of this week, they will likely be off. So it's not just the label. And I just found another article right before we started that like kind of helped with that. So there's 3 million tracks of like the recording label that got taken off, but publishing is like nearly 4 million. So it's even more than the record label tracks that are getting taken off, because not all of the people who have deals with them as a label also have the publishing. So I think I had an example.
So is that like even people that write cross labels, if they have a publishing deal, or
yeah, if
one
it's
of the
publishing
writers on the song has a publishing deal, it's off?
Yeah. So this says those songs are often recorded by artists who are signed to other record companies. An example would be Adele, who's signed to Sony Music / Columbia for records, but her publishing is signed with Universal.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so maybe that's why, because it's basically every piece of music.
It's a lot of people. Yeah. Let me get back to this. So just like a lot of music is getting taken off, and I kind of have like their back and forth statements. So UMG spokesperson said the company's, quote, agreements with TikTok have expired because of TikTok's unwillingness to appropriately compensate artists and songwriters. I'm not breathing. I'm like...
It's just the two of us. It's okay.
I have this issue...
Did do something.
No, oh gosh, let's not hit the mic. I just have this issue where, like, I don't think I need to breathe as I'm trying to read. I'm like, you can pause and take a breath. Yeah. You don't have to say the full sentence in one breath. So, sorry for that. Where are we? TikTok's unwillingness to appropriately compensate artists and songwriters, protect human artists from harmful effects of AI, and address online safety issues for TikTok users. So there's like 3 things that were considered an issue, not just like the compensation. There was like other aspects. And then TikTok's statement was that Universal Music Group has put their own greed above the interests of their artists and songwriters, and added, despite Universal's false narrative and rhetoric, the fact is they have chosen to walk away from the powerful support of a platform with well over 1 billion users that serves as a free promotional and discovery vehicle for their talent. TikTok has been able to reach artist-first agreements with every other label and publisher. Clearly, Universal's self-serving actions are not in the best interests of artists, songwriters, and fans.
Damn.
So they're basically like, okay, well, you're walking away from this and you can't use our platform that has so many people that could discover your music, and they're saying it should be a free promotional tool and that the artists don't deserve to be paid because of the publicity they get or free promotion they get.
Okay, I have a lot to say about that.
No, you still have to pay people.
Yes. It's like the whole... Right now in Nashville, people performing downtown, they think that because everyone they're like, if people want to perform at my bar so badly, they can pay me. That's starting to become a thing, which is not acceptable. No. When people are trying to make a livelihood, that is not a thing. Yeah, it should not be a thing. Let me say, like, if you're paying to play, we'll do a whole episode on the pay to play thing.
Yeah, I highly recommend not doing a pay to play.
There are certain instances that I think it just really depends on the situation. But if you're downtown at a Broadway bar, you should not be paying to play one of those things. It is not worth it.
No.
Absolutely not. You are not going to make... I mean, and tips vary so much down there. No, absolutely not. And honestly, it should be the reverse. The fact that so many people expect you to have live music down here in Nashville should be one of the main reasons to get artists in the door. Like, so many places don't get picked for people to go to because they don't have live music. Like, I know when I'm taking people out. Yeah.
Like I've seen it where it's like, oh, you don't have live music till 6. Okay, we'll come back. Yeah, because they're wanting live music. Like
that's why you come to Nashville, is to listen to live music everywhere. No other place has such great live music everywhere. Like,
you're bringing in you're bringing in the customers who are then spending money at your bar. So, like, you should be paying people who are playing there because they're the reason that you're making money in the first place.
So that's what that whole thing sounded like. And then you said, oh, there was something else that you said that I was like, oh, that makes me so angry. That Universal's being greedy. Oh, it was that the whole platform, Instagram and YouTube Music is still the number one place to find new music is on YouTube. So TikTok saying that is a real, like, I get that it's a big platform. Yeah. But honestly, I wasn't discovering new music from established artists that were on a Universal size label from TikTok. No. I was finding people that were independent or not signed on TikTok. Where I was still finding new music from signed artists was either through tours or just other areas. It was not on that particular social media platform. I mean, I'm sure it was to a degree, but like YouTube and Instagram, especially Instagram, is still such a high.
Except for like smaller artists, I would say, because I think Kylie Morgan's with Universal.
Okay.
And there's that trend going around. I don't know what the song's originally from, but it's like, all that work and what did it get me? And she was like, when Universal has to take off all their music from TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Because she just released a new song yesterday, and I think I saw it on TikTok briefly before all this happened. But now she has to just promote on Reels and stuff, which is still a thing, but not as big probably. Yeah. I don't have the stats for
honestly,
that.
But I'm like throwing on a Spotify playlist, which Spotify not paying people is a whole nother issue, and we can get. Is that also part of today's topic?
Just like kinda, but not kinda. Okay. I don't feel like it's very in depth, but
maybe we'll get to that a little bit more. But it's just, that's honestly where I'm discovering most of my music is through like a random generated playlist of like songs like this one. Yeah. Like that's where I'm finding it, even small artists. Yeah. So, or like TikTok famous songs. I find them through Spotify more than I do on TikTok. So for me, it was just like what a bold statement, TikTok.
Right. Like, yeah. And then UMG does have like a response to that statement saying, quote, TikTok's own statement perfectly sums up its woefully outdated view. Even though TikTok has built one of the world's largest and most valuable social media platforms off the backs of artists and songwriters, TikTok still argues that artists should be grateful for the free promotion and that music companies are greedy for expecting them to simply compensate artists and songwriters appropriately and on similar levels as other social media platforms currently do. TikTok didn't even attempt to address the other issues we raised regarding harmful AI and platform safety. It's no surprise that artists' rights advocates are speaking out in support of our action.
And you know what? Good for Universal for finally taking a stance, because it's taken so long for, I feel like, a lot of these companies to start speaking out about these kinds of things. I mean, I think...
And I couldn't find the article I read like the other day to like add, but it was listing off like a bunch of different companies that were supporting Universal in this debate. And then there was like there was one that wasn't, and that's what the article was, but then it was also listing basically that this one that's going against Universal's take on it is like the minority, and most people are supporting Universal's take on it. So it seems like other companies, I don't know if we'll have more licensing breakdowns where like they're not gonna renew their deals too in support, but we'll see. But they're supporting Universal.
Yeah, I had a thought, it just slipped my mind.
Oh, no. But they didn't even like acknowledge points 2 and 3 that they were wanting to talk about before renewing the deal. They were just so focused on the money aspect that they didn't even talk about AI or like safety. Which I love that Universal is like, we need to talk about safety of TikTok users, like, in the deal and stuff, because I don't know that that's really, like, they didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So it's nice to, like, advocate for safety. It didn't specify, but probably, like, I would think, like, I know there's talk of child restrictions and stuff of, like, children on TikTok restricting their access and stuff, so that way they hopefully don't have don't get YouTube, like the harmful effects of social media as a child, like to help with bullying and things like that.
A lot of stuff that has just been so randomly thrown on people's timelines.
Yeah. Like, I didn't even see that.
They definitely don't catch fast enough.
Yeah.
So.
But my next thing was, you mentioned we could talk about, like, kind of throwback to when Taylor pulled her music off Spotify. That's what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, because it's not like this is the first time that things like these have happened in the music,
like, taken off of a major platform. So November 2014, Taylor Swift pulled her music off of Spotify. And this was following, she did an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, published July 7th, 2014. And I could not read it without a subscription. Oh. But the Time article that I read, like, had quotes throughout, so I, like, wrote down some of the quotes. So she said, "In my opinion, the value of an album is and will continue to be based on the amount of heart and soul an artist has bled into a body of work and the financial value that artists and their labels place on their music when it goes out into the marketplace. Piracy, file sharing, and streaming have shrunk the numbers of paid album sales drastically, and every artist has handled this blow differently. Music is art, and art is important and rare. Important, rare things are valuable. Valuable things should be paid for. It's my opinion that music should not be free, and my prediction is that individual artists and their labels will someday decide what an album's price point is. I hope they don't underestimate themselves or undervalue their art." And that made me think of being in Bucks, Belmont University Copyright Society. We talked about the Music Modernization Act, and there was, like, potential for, like, allowing people to set their own rates for royalties, which I don't think happened in the sense that we talked about
with, like, building the panel and everything like that for
the
act. I don't know.
They changed the standard, but not to where it's like, oh, I'm gonna set my royalty rate for, like, this much or whatever, but they did change how it's done. I didn't really get specifics, but I know it is changed. But the way we talked about it, it was like, okay, so for this artist, you can set your rate for whatever you want, and it'd be different from everyone else. But let's see. In November 2014,
can I interrupt really fast? Okay. When you were talking about that, I had two thoughts. One was, I had two thoughts, and I was like, I really need to say this. ADHD. You were talking about
music is art. It's valuable. Should not be free.
No, you had said something before you read the quote.
They're long quotes, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't say much before the quote.
Oh, I was going to say that this is what I was thinking earlier, is that TikTok is still such a new app. Like, it really it blew up during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. It's only been 4 years since the pandemic. Yeah. It really hasn't shown that it's, like, going to stand in the test of anything. I mean, we all thought that Vine was
because Vine didn't stay.
So I think there will always be a need for short form video platforms. Mm-hmm. But in a couple years, is TikTok even going to be relevant? Who knows? So it's like Instagram and stuff like that, which has already taken on a lot of those properties.
Right.
I can guarantee you that. And so for TikTok to just, like, make those claims is, I think, a little bold. And it's so hard to find an in-between of just being able to comfortably live as a musician. And that's all that people are trying to do here with this, and to, like, actually stand up for artists. I think a lot of people just think that they're probably trying to stick up for, like, the Taylor Swifts of the world or something, where they're already making such a huge income off of a lot of this stuff. But I mean, like, the publishing deals and stuff like that, the fact, this is what I was going to say, was the fact that, like, Grammy award winning just songwriters are still having to work waitressing jobs on the sides just to be able to make ends meet. And they're still not making that much because people aren't compensated enough. Radio was the main source of, like, income in that kind of a space, because you don't make money doing this. You make money doing touring, is what everyone's going to tell you, which is the truth. But the main source was radio, because at least radio actually somewhat paid. And then radio has become a dying art form because we're all on our phones and doing streaming. It's the same way with, cable is now all streaming platforms, and now we're all streaming with music. And that's great, because I think there's a lot more discovery there, and being on the radio was so hard and grueling work for artists to honestly have to do, because I've heard the stories of some radio tours that my friends and stuff have gone on, and it's rough. And so I'm happy we're kind of moving away from having to do that, but also like then I think that there are a lot more independent radio stations that are kind of popping up here. You just gotta find them and know where they are, and then obviously gaining listeners to that is also a little tough, but they treat it more like a streaming platform, and that's what makes it fun. I think that's what the independent artists get to do, like the independent radio stations that play indie artists get to kind of make it more like a streaming station, and then it's fun. But
I also think like physical copies is where people will get money too.
Yeah, but even that's starting to die out too. Now it's like a fun thing. Like that's why you do the records and stuff. That
was like the main issue was like
so
everyone's going to streaming, they're not buying physical copies, and that's why she kind of like was like, I'm taking my stuff off because you're not paying fairly.
Yeah, and now Spotify's trying to. I feel like Spotify lately has taken TikTok side on it. It feels like, because of the fact that they're not paying artists that don't have under 1,000 streams.
Yeah, they're like, we're gonna free anybody. Up.
You're already not giving them like anything. You're already giving them like 5 cents for that 1,000 streams. What is that hurting to still give people?
Yeah, I had to get a new pickup for my guitar, and which is what allows you to plug it into a sound system. So that plus the like cost of like doing the repair was $300 something, and so I did not expect that. I think I was quoted like $130, and then all of a sudden it was like $311.
Yeah.
So I went and found this calculator thing of like, how many streams would it be to make like $300, and it was like 80,000. So I made a joking Instagram story. I mean, like, finally got my guitar repaired, like go stream my songs 80,000 times so I can pay for it. So royalties really don't add up too much, but
no, and they never were going to be, but it's also just that's how most people consume the music. They're not going to a live live show every day to consume that music to make it worth it. That's actually, but that's where the money is, not in what's actually being consumed on a daily basis. So the fact that now like physical copies, which at least gave you more money than a stream does, like because the ratio just does not add up. I think.
My hope for the future, not just in the music industry but in every young girl I meet, is that they all realize their worth and ask for it, which I mean could go for music but also just in life in general of like, know your worth and don't like lowball yourself or don't accept anything less.
Which I have a story about. Hopefully I can share this. I think it's fine. Yeah, I just really wanted to I do social media management, and I just wanted to get some upgraded equipment, and I was so nervous to even ask my boss for it, which I shouldn't have to be nervous just to ask for a budget for what my job is. But yet I was so nervous to ask him, and then it hurt me. Like I took it personally which is a problem I need to fix in myself a lot too, and something I want to talk about eventually on the podcast, of taking things personally in this industry when you're in an industry where your personal business matters. Like that's such a fine line to straddle all the time, and be like, how do you not take it personally when you're putting so much of your own personality and personal business out there, because you have to write good songs, right? So it's like finding that line, and or maybe you don't have to, but that's the musician that I want to be, is to do that, because I think that's what I've always wanted to do. But also in the social media world, and like you have to put yourself out there, because like anything you do in a creative space is a part of you. Same kind of thing of just like asking for your worth. It's so easy to say, to do it, and I'm so happy that people continue to say it in their acceptance speeches and stuff, because it's a small little reminder to keep pushing yourself to do that, especially I think women, and especially in this industry. It's so weird I never thought that I wasn't that person that would be like, I want a raise, give me a raise, but I'm nervous every time I go into a meeting with my boss, because I'm like, I get that imposter syndrome of like, am I even worth asking? And it's like, yes, of course I am. Of course I know I'm doing good work. It's like I get complimented daily from everybody else, but then going up and trying to prove that to somebody else, it's just like, then it's like I'm stonewalling myself of those feelings of accomplishment, then, especially when I get turned down for any kind of budget. So that's my story.
So I looked up the time of the article is November 2014. So at that time, artists earned between 0.6 of a cent and 0.08 of a cent per play. So it's like 0.006 and 0.0084 cents per play.
Nice.
Or yeah, whatever. And so yeah, not high, but
what is it now?
Oh, I have that too.
Yeah, I was like, I used to know the percentage because we had to for class, but
now it's 0.003 or 0.0 to 0.005.
Okay.
So that's 0.3 of a cent, I think, to 5 cents or something like that. So it's gone down. So that's not.
So do
fun.
we think that Taylor Swift doing that like did?
I was gonna say
because that was the whole point of
I
bringing it up is we
her
wanted to like
kind of compare it,
and see if this Universal's way of doing things again is gonna show a result that's actually gonna make it.
I remember her taking it off and the op-ed and all that stuff when it happened 10 years ago, which is crazy that that's 10 years ago. But it didn't affect me because I was still listening to CDs in 2014.
Same. And now there's no CD players in cars. So
yeah, because I had one in my car, so I could still listen to CDs, which I can't anymore, but I still buy them to collect.
That's why I started doing the records, and I'm so happy Brayden got me a record player.
Yeah.
I can actually listen to them now.
And then flash forward to 2017 in June, an article on The Guardian talked about Taylor putting her entire back catalog onto Spotify again, ending a 3-year boycott of the streaming service. And
I didn't realize it went on for 3 years.
It went on for 3 years, and they said that the decision to return to streaming was to thank her fans for 1989 passing 10 million sales. Was kind of how they celebrated that, I guess. So she was off of there for 3 whole years, but I don't think it did anything, obviously, because the royalty rates have gone down since 2014 instead of up. And because people were still listening to CDs, it's like Spotify wasn't even that big yet. It was heading in the direction of what it is now, but it wasn't at the time.
Thought process of bringing this up too was that to compare and contrast how things were different now versus then, and if it was going to make a big difference, which is interesting that it didn't then, because my thought was everyone's already trying to find ways to get around this by just making it an original sound, and then you just go find the song and it becomes famous just by using it over and over. And I mean, that's how other things like Taylor songs ended up coming out on different projects and stuff, like how All of the Girls You Loved Before came out, because people just started putting things out there. And so it's like, I don't think that this is going to be like, I think it was a fun little meme, but I think people are eventually going to be like, oh, I mean, they already had to create original sounds when the songs weren't out yet for new music. So it was like, I get what they're trying to do, but this kind of stuff has also happened in the past, I think, with like the LimeWire and the Napster eras too. It's like that stuff doesn't go away or become any better until there are laws put in place. And I think not too long after the whole Spotify thing happened was the ML
Music Modernization
was like, you need stuff like that to actually be making the change of it. And I don't know if we're still, I'm sure people are still lobbying, but I know when the Music Modernization Act especially was becoming a thing, like people were lobbying Congress hard about it. Like that's the real way, by putting laws into effect that actually force these companies to be held accountable. That's the only way that things start to actually change.
So then now back to TikTok. I researched TikTok royalties, and so it's not based off of how many times a song is played, but the number of videos it has. So if it only has one video and that video has 1 million views, you still only get typically 3 cents per video depending on your distributor.
Gotcha.
So I went to DistroKid and looked, and like in total I started releasing music 2021. So 2021 to present, I've earned 7 cents from TikTok.
Wow.
And I'm confused because 7 cents is not divisible by 3.
No.
But also there's more videos than that with my songs. So I don't exactly know how that works.
Well, they also are slow to update things.
Yeah.
So it might just be a matter of how long it takes them to actually update things. But I also found that
like
my DistroKid
just over 2 videos.
Yeah. When I have people buy my songs, it doesn't show up, and I know people are buying them. So I'm like, I don't know where it's going, honestly, but I also don't know how to prove it to be like, DistroKid, hey, you owe me money.
Yeah.
So
because it does have to be through like your distributor. You can't just like put it up directly yourself. So when you're like promoting before you release and do the thing or like make a private video of the sound and then use that sound, that's not an official sound. So it's not because it's not through your distributor. So that one doesn't count. It has to be like the official one, which is annoying because sometimes they don't put this part of the song that you actually want as like your official sound. So
well, you can change it, I think. When you upload it, you have to tell DistroKid. I know you can say like have it randomized. I think I do that,
yeah. But still, like I think TikTok still did it in a weird place, and it was like, I want this somewhere else in the song, but okay, fine.
Yeah.
But like even like Sunsets and Fireworks has more than just 2 videos, and so you would think those ones would be up there by now because that was like 3 years ago. So you would think it would be on there. So the 7 cents doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me sometimes.
But yeah, 3 cents per video typically is the royalty rate. So yeah, I guess just does UMG Polling Music do anything? I feel like if other labels join in and like make it a boycott, maybe they could push for better pay for artists if all the major labels are doing it, because I said a lot of companies are siding with them, but that doesn't mean they're pulling their own music off.
Right.
So if they joined in, maybe, but also then
it's not going to stop independent artists.
That's my next point. Yeah,
that it's like this is the time to do things
to promote as an independent
artist. Which I already
on
was like, yes, this is the time to shine. That was immediately what I thought.
Right, because that's literally my next point, was that independent artists will just sweep in and people will use that instead, which is a good thing for us and good thing for discovering new music and independent artists and supporting them. So
that's where the toughness of being an independent artist comes in, because it's like, do you side with getting more money and helping the major labels, which is ultimately what you would like to do, but also you don't have if you're trying to make it as an independent artist and solely that be your job, you don't have the wiggle room to not be pushing your stuff and at least getting some sense put into your bank account.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing too with like hard. I feel like it's very similar to the thought process of why, like how they had the strikes in Hollywood, why that wouldn't work for Broadway musicians to strike, because like if they decide, okay, Broadway musicians were striking, we're not going to play even for like a day, they will find other musicians who are going to be willing to jump in your spot and take it. And people with like consistent gigs will just lose their consistent gig by other people jumping in, because it's impossible to get every single person on board, so they'll just find new people.
It is. And I would love to do a whole episode about Nashville musicians and finding gigs and the ups and downs to playing at Broadway and stuff, and how things are changing, and how I've heard not really for the best, and it's been really hard, and I've run into so many road bumps with trying to get gigs in town that it's a whole other episode, and I have a lot of opinions, obviously, being in the scene. I'm sure you do as well. So, and we've kind of touched on things about how they don't want to pay people and they expect you to want to pay, but it's just like, I think that is where it really does cross the line. But then it's like you said, when the Broadway musicians want to go on strike to try and get more money, like it
won't work. And I think that's the same thing with this, of like, you can try and get all the major labels to kind of join in with UMG, but then independent artists will just sweep in, which, I mean, it's good for us, but from the aspect of trying to convince TikTok that they do need to pay people fairly,
I'm sure every independent
then it's going to be harder.
Like, it would be nice to actually be paid correctly.
Right. Like, but I think a lot of independent artists can't really, I don't know, they're still just going to post to try and like take advantage of it and blow up, because then hopefully that will lead to more income sources other than the royalties.
Social media management company is going to say right now, every marketing, they're all going to say take advantage of this time. Like, that's what I saw all over Facebook when this happened, was if you're an independent artist, this is your time to shine. No one was saying you're a bad person for not sticking with the labels and taking your music off. They were all like, this is your time to take advantage of something that won't happen again.
My only other thing was that I saw yesterday, that I saw it yesterday. It happened on the 22nd that TikTok's global head of music operations is leaving. And it didn't say that it was in relation to anything, but it's just a curious like timing of it. So I'm like, did something happen where like this is causing something?
I don't know.
So that was interesting that he's leaving. But that's really all I had for
I haven't really heard anything updated since it happened, really. And even people are starting to kind of just be like, okay, because Beyonce stuff is on there, so like people are just using Beyonce sounds. Like that's the other thing too, is like not everyone is tied to Universal, like,
or they will use like sped up versions, like versions that are unofficial, and just like hope they don't get muted.
Exactly,
because there's still like Taylor stuff, I think, that are or even like live, like just use live sounds from the Eras tour.
I'm just hearing the Eras tour exactly.
So
from the live videos,
people can get away with using Taylor sounds that way, and they could do the same with any artist, really. I mean, that happened. I don't know the song, but I did notice a recent video got muted like right at the end of January. I'm like, I just posted that and it's muted, and I literally went, and it lets you replace the sound if your video is muted, and I found the same exact song but just a different sound, and put that up, and I haven't checked to see if it actually stayed, but there's plenty of other versions of the songs on there that you could probably get away with. So
and I don't know if it'll start turning into a YouTube situation where you can't put covers up, but as of now you can make your own cover and just use that too,
because people are doing that too, where they're like, well, you can't use Taylor songs, so here's like my version of a Taylor song, like use this cover instead for your videos. So exactly.
And I wonder if that'll start to change, because I know YouTube's really strict about people posting full covers of songs and stuff.
Okay. I haven't posted a cover on there in a hot minute, so
but then it's also like that's how people get discovered too, and artists, because
technically
are still
I know
out there looking for cover songs, so it's like it's such a hard win. It's like a lose sometimes, or it's like there's a chance that you're gonna win it, but then there's also a lot more of a chance that you're gonna get some copyright strike or something else, which it's always a gamble, and it's like, what is worth it at the end of it, and like you never know, and that's the luck of the draw of the music industry.
This like rate and review us on like whatever platform. I know Spotify has it, Apple Podcasts has it. Like, thumbs up our YouTube video, subscribe everywhere. We're at the Music Lens Podcast on everything except for Instagram is at the_music_lens_podcast. But yeah, please like follow us everywhere on socials. That helps us kind of grow and get more listeners, so super helpful.
Any new music you're digging on this week?
I mentioned Kylie Morgan earlier. Two Night Stands is a really good song that she put out yesterday, so I like that. Came out I never mentioned Deeper Well last time, because that also came out.
Yes, okay, that's mine. So, Deeper Well by Casey Musgraves. I sent to my mom immediately because I knew she would relate to it, because it's all about just healing yourself and growing. And it's an amazing song, and if you haven't gone and listened to it, I almost cried at work. I was just like, it just hit something.
I put a cover on TikTok, and I'm not good at like doing finger picking on guitar, and obviously did not have it sound exactly like the record because it's more intricate, but I at least did like the walk down melody in the chorus, and I was like, I'm learning things. I am growing.
There you go. Okay.
So, but yeah, so I'm excited for her album to be out on March 15th. It'll be good to hear the rest of it.
Yes. So that's it. Thanks for listening, guys. Yes. We are the Music Lens Podcast with Alex Allegra
and Katie Fee.
Thank you.